Hello, Billy Reeves here, and welcome to a very special Kscope podcast. We'll be speaking to Bruce Soord and Gleb Kolyadin at 2. Bruce Soord's recent solo album is called Ghosts in the Park. Cream vinyl, green vinyl, a 4-disc earbook and a CD. It's quite a piece of work and arguably thematically unique in the rock canon. Lots to get through. So I went down to Yeovil. I would postulate that your art is political because you are a working class person who has seized the means of control.
That's interesting because I always say, there's no politics in this, but I see what you mean in terms of control. Interesting.
Everything's political.
Yeah.
Right, and art is a hammer, not a mirror.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So is your art political?
Well, right, if you put it like that, I say yes, definitely.
Would you have a problem if your audience had a different outlook to politics and would you say, okay, you can buy my records and come to my shows if your politics jars with my politics?
Yes, I would. You have to, don't you? You have to be able to tolerate all. It's toleration, isn't it? But so agreeing with someone doesn't necessarily, or disagreeing with someone doesn't mean that you can't still get your hammer out.
Therefore, if you were speaking to someone who said, I love your records, thanks for signing it, but then said something that jarred with your political outlook, would you challenge them?
I to be honest, it's very rare that I've had any political comments that have been aired that I've obviously gone, whoa, that is completely the opposite to my worldview. And I think that might be because of the kind of people that this music attracts. So, but I think if someone did say something that I found really offensive, you'd have to challenge them. And I think what I've realised a lot is basically thinking about your moral courage and did I have that actually, and that's something that I've been really working hard to improve myself is to get the moral courage to actually be prepared to take people on and to face the consequences of it.
Well, especially in a way that you are in the public eye. I mean, you do have a platform.
Exactly.
But I agree with you. I think your music. Your lyrics are quite clear.
Yeah.
They're not hectoring, and they're not the Manic Street Preachers. They're not sixth form poetry.
No.
They're abstract sometimes, but
yeah.
Clearly there is a moral code in there.
Yeah, there is, and I guess if we're gonna, it's probably a very much a. It's difficult to assign it to any sort of. Obviously, I regard myself as a very liberal kind of guy, who accepts that everybody should have an equal place on this planet. So that probably doesn't match with the worldview of certainly quite a lot of what's going on in the world right now. So yeah,
white men trying to stay out of jail.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
Ironically, of course, you're as an artist, you're also entrepreneurial.
Well, yes.
Margaret Thatcher would love this.
Yeah. So is there a bit of a contradiction there?
In my opinion, if you've seized control of the means of production, I mean, literally,
yes.
It literally marks it. But also, of course, if you are sharing that, it's trickle-down economics, isn't it? It's the third way. If you're employing people, You've created something that didn't exist in the first place, which is art.
Yeah.
But art is also work. Otherwise, it's a bourgeois indulgence.
Right. Yeah.
If it doesn't go into profit, it's a bourgeois indulgence. You're supporting people.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, and I think I still don't actually view it as a job. I don't. I view it as a. I hate to say, I don't want to say, oh, it's a privilege or blah blah blah, but it does feel quite a responsibility and quite a unique thing, quite an extraordinary thing to be able to do.
But that's my point. It wouldn't be an artistic pursuit unless it was a job. I guess you and I grew up in a time where we did see musicians as immortal.
Yes.
And perhaps you don't see yourself as immortal, but by leaving all these records behind, you are.
Well, I guess, yes, as close to immortality as you could wish. But yeah, I think there is that thing, certainly, you know, when I was young, when you looked up, especially the 80s, when, you know, that's probably as, you know, as wild as it gets. I mean, you know, when you remember, like, even bands like Duran Duran, do you remember Duran Duran when they went to the States and things like that? They weren't off this planet, you know. Obviously they are now, you know.
But yeah, an Irish brickie like Boy George, you know.
Yeah, I guess that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
I think so, because I think it should be, and it always was, the most democratic of art forms.
Well, yeah, and certainly that's how I've approached it, and it felt like anybody could have done it, you know.
Are you bearer when you're doing your solo records in terms of conceptualizing, and because it's your name above the door?
Yeah.
This one in particular, and we'll talk about it stylistically in a minute, this one in particular is quite bare.
Yes.
And kind of deliberately anticlimactic. It doesn't, you've resisted, and I want to sort of really desperately want to talk to you about this later, how you've resisted the temptation to go, you know, with all of them, they all sit there and they repeat and they stay tense. But are you bearer when you're writing lyrics for your solo record?
Yeah, and I sometimes question it, you know. I think that, especially juggling my solo with my band, how I juggle it, I kind of made a deal with myself where there would be no limits. That I would you're just gonna really everything. You're gonna bear absolutely everything. So what you're going through right now, you're not gonna mince any words. You're not gonna think, oh, I can't share that. I'm just gonna share everything.
Autobiographical in real time.
Yeah. Completely, and you know, and I do question. You know, I say, look, why would people want to delve into the depths, the very basement of my soul? It's up to you. If it's, you know, if I'm not asking people to, but you know, I'm so far the people I've spoken to, especially the people that have heard the whole record, they've been quite. It's been quite moving, actually, how they've reacted to it, and then I'm thinking, actually, yeah, that does feel quite special, bearing all of that, and I guess in a selfish way, it helps me deal with it as well. Sharing it.
Yeah, especially a solo record.
I've always been very specific about what you write about, and people say, oh, Bruce, you know, you're always writing with we's and I's and everything. Like you said, I can't just read a book or watch a film and go, I'm going to write an album based on this film I've just watched. It would be like AI writing an album.
Have you put yourself into AI?
No, I have not. And
at this point, listener, he went to funny colour.
Yeah, I'm tempted. I was always tempted, and I never did. I know that currently we're using it, you know, for useful things like. We had to rewrite our website, and normally it takes idiots like us, you know, days to bodge it together. Now you can just tell Mr. AI man can write me the code for my website, which is, I think, is quite handy. But no, we have resisted. I mean, we got into with the last Pineapple record. The cover was an AI so that was a big. It's only now that you realise how much of a mistake that was.
I think now, because the people have got more sophisticated and noticed that it is.
I think it's really, really interesting. I mean, we might go off on a little tangent when talking about AI, but because my son is doing creative writing at an arty college, arty university, and there is a massive backlash, anti-AI, and to the point where I think AI in the arts, I can't ever see it ever. And I think that people think that humans are a little bit stupid, and they're not going to notice. It's so obvious when it's AI slop, especially music and visual arts. If you were already approaching music in an AI kind of way, which is just regurgitating stuff that you've listened to in a different way, or the way you approach writing music, if you approach it in a very sort of scientific way, then I think maybe you should worry. If you're doing library music or that kind of stuff, then you should worry. I think if you are making music in the purest sense as a songwriter from your soul, it's like this thing that the inspiration that happens, and when you your thoughts and your emotions are translated into notes and words, that's the only way you think about it, then I don't think you need to worry.
You sound possibly like a musicians union rep in the 80s when samplers first came up.
Well, this is the thing. There's been sort of lots of key occasions, milestones in the music business where it's, oh no, this is the end. I mean, it's not the same thing, but home taping, things like that didn't kill the music industry. Streaming, it's changed the music industry, but it hasn't killed it. Samplers, sampling other people's music and then just putting, when you think back to that, when people thought, oh no, this is just terrible. So I think the world will adapt, and I think there will be a huge demand for certified AI-free creative output.
Yeah, any machinery is bad depending on whose hands it's in.
Yeah.
And it's good depending on whose hands it's in.
Yeah, maybe in 10 years' time, when we're kind of embedded, when AI is properly embedded in society, we'll know how people feel about it.
The phrase artificial intelligence has been around for a long time, but now, we're adding slop to the end of it. Now we're talking about AI as if it's a bad thing, because we've seen what it's done over the last year. But as you rightly said, with the last sleeve, people can now recognise it.
Yeah, I think so. And you can recognise text when it's been AI generated. You can recognise it a mile off. I always think there's an analogy to, do you remember digital cassette?
Yeah.
So that was a thing where it was going to be the next amazing thing, where it's a normal cassette tape, but it also was able to read digital cassette, which was... But they had to cut, in order to fit all the data on, they had to cut it, I think, at 20 kilohertz, some high frequency, thinking that actually the human ear can't hear above that. But everybody could tell. Right. They said, no, it's impossible. The human will not be able to perceive this. But the psychoacoustics or whatever, humans could notice it, and it was a flop for that reason. So I kind of wonder if AI.
There's loads of things that Zuckerberg has done and said this is going to be the next big thing. Despite being a total hippie, sitting in here surrounded by acoustic guitars, though, you are somewhat of a nerd. You are a fan of modern tech.
Well, I was. I think in the early days of being in a studio, you had to be a nerd. And I was a nerd because I kind of worked, my day job was nerdy. It was in IT. So I was able to go home in 1999 and build a studio, and it was lots of wires and computers and cables and...
That's artistic.
Well, yeah. I enjoy it. I loved it. And when it all worked, after a week of desperately trying to get it to work, and it worked, it was an amazing feeling. Yeah.
And yet now you find it difficult to turn a microphone on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was like, why isn't this working? Oh, I haven't actually switched this switch on. Yeah.
It's human error.
Yeah, it's human error.
Does being a Yeovilian, is that such a word?
Yeah, I think so.
Does being a Yeovilian inform your music?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean... Every day while I walk out, where I live in this town is very, very typical of a market town that is in decline, and you see it everywhere. So you see the effects of probably the second, third generation of kids that haven't really had the same opportunities of other kids, and now what they're doing, you see them falling into drugs. You see, because my wife is a nurse, you see sort of the couples who, have very, very serious drug problems, and then all of a sudden they're not around anymore because they're probably dead. And my wife will, she'll know because they've been through the hospital, and so that's probably one of the more extreme things. But even just walking to the shops, going down the street, bumping into the people you meet, it's still such a massive sort of snapshot of society for me, because there's every facet of it. There's all the lovely people, the people that you've known that I've lived here for 20 years. There's my neighbours who are lovely, and then there are the people who aren't so nice, and the people who are almost like sociopathic and the reason for society's breakdown, that kind of thing. So you kind of see it.
It's odd because you said that before, and you make it sound like the 70s Bronx.
Yeah.
But for us London suburbanites, this is Somerset, and this is the place of hobbits and
it is,
rolling
yes,
countryside and PJ Harvey.
That's right.
And the West Country and accents.
So all the PJ Harveys are living in their big cottages in the villages, but in the towns, it's still the same people with the same problems and the same sort of lost people. But
you grew up here, and yet you're still here.
Yeah.
Whereas the rock and roll dream would be not to be where you grew up.
I guess so. I think I wouldn't have imagined I would still be in Yeovil, having pretty much been born and bred here
and travelled the world.
Yeah, exactly. So I get that balance, and I kind of in my old age, I kind of feel once you shut that front door, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter as long as no one fires a tank cannon into the house or anything like that. Then it's fine. You shut the door. I've never known anything else.
Yeah, we're suburban.
Yeah, we are suburban.
Best of both worlds, worst of both worlds.
Whenever I have to go to a city, and with the band and everything, I enjoy it, but I'm very, very happy to leave it.
Yeah, it's a holiday.
Yeah,
it's a city break. Yeah. That must happen a lot with touring. Where is the favourite place you've been to in all the years? Where you say thinking this is. I feel really comfortable here. This is vibey. This is amazing.
I can kind of the friendly places. I think most of the European cities have a really, really lovely atmosphere, like Barcelona and Madrid. Probably the nicest vibe. I think places like Copenhagen. Walking around there, you just see everybody, and everybody seems to be so happy.
We don't see the suburbs of those places.
That's true. So we only see the centres.
We don't see the banlieues.
No.
We don't see the Yeovil of.
No.
With all due respect.
Although when
Denmark.
we play in Paris, where we stay is actually probably a bit closer to.
It's really the record. We already talked about its autobiography. We'll delve deeper into it if we may. But there's a certain kind of choral, churchy nature to it.
Yeah, and I don't know where that came from. Really, I know exactly what you mean. It's maybe it was because it was so dominated and informed by kind of end of life, and this is the trouble with talking about this record, because if I talk about the stuff that was happening, stuff I was going through when I was writing it, you think, oh my God, why would anybody want to listen to that? Or, it sounds so bleak, but it's not bleak. But it just made you, I think the choral sort of almost ethereal nature of the sound was definitely informed by the fact that you had to confront things that everybody has to confront them, and you think about them all the time, but you really were confronting them head on. You couldn't get away from it. Every day you were having to deal with these emotions. So yeah, maybe it was subconsciously that's how it came out.
Skeletal, not bleak.
Yeah.
A tree without its leaves.
Yeah, I would hate anybody to call it bleak. Definitely not.
There's a beauty in monochrome.
Yeah.
Also, it's the first. I think it's the first pop record I've heard that repeats the word entropy.
Oh,
which is actually one of my absolute favourite words. And I think that an acceptance of entropy I mean, it's a bit Jean Paul Sartre, but I think there's a happiness in it, in kind of accepting that there is, that these struggles exist for people, and there is a beauty in it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to avoid the word existentialism.
No, true, but I guess you can't get away from the fact that it's such a brilliant thing to sing about. We're always in this desperate struggle to maintain this order, and it's just bursting at the seams to revert to chaos, and that's our life. That's our life. And I think the acceptance thing is a big thing, and I'm pretty sure. I kind of remember when I kind of all of a sudden realised that actually there is an acceptance. There is a way to have acceptance. And then all of a sudden I was so much happier.
Yeah. And I think it comes across... death is a taboo.
Yes, it is. We don't talk about it enough.
No, because we're British. We don't talk about anything enough. And also, death is not failure.
No. It's inevitable. But, yeah.
People talk about battling filling disease here. Is that, I mean, perhaps you've skirted around the issue of what you were going through. If you're unhappy, if you're uncomfortable talking about it, that's fine.
No, it's fine, because that's what I sang about.
Yeah.
So it's fine. So I mean, the thing is, I want to be quite clear that what I went through is not extraordinary. It's part of human, of what we have to deal with.
Suburban experience.
Yeah. So I wrote about stuff, when my children were born, and all that kind of stuff. And now I've reached that period where I'm very lucky that my mum and dad lived to the age that they did. But unfortunately, end of life wasn't particularly great. And my father was, I always looked up to him all my life. He was in the army. He was very ordered and very sensible. And then all of a sudden, he got dementia, and his character changed. And this wasn't over just a year. This was over probably the last 10 years that you've seen this slow decline. And then eventually he took pretty much a very sort of bad turn for the worse, and was hospitalised, where he actually lost his mind. He thought that there was conspiracies, and he was trying to escape this hospital ward, and they had to have security with him, and he thought I was in on it. So I would go and visit him, and he would say, how could you do this? And he would go into the toilet and sob. I sob, I can't believe my son would do this. And I wasn't sat there thinking, oh my God, this is so awful. I was sat there thinking, what is this? What is happening? And so it was, and he was on this ward for 3 months. So I would be going in every day, just thinking, what state is he going to be in today? And these sort of psychotic or episodes he'd had, he wouldn't have any memory of them when they were over. So in a way, that was a good way of dealing with it. But it was such an intense time that you're dealing with your father, and you're looking at him in a way that his behaviour is nothing that you recognise, and you're thinking, why? And inside you're secretly thinking, why couldn't he have just passed away peacefully instead of the doctors prolonging his life as they do? But then also you go in there, and it just makes you. You've got a lot of time. I'm sat there on this hospital ward with him with all these thoughts, and so you couldn't help but take that back. And put it into music. And the flip side of this is that, so my father was in hospital. My poor mother, who has very, very advanced end-stage Alzheimer's, who my dad was carer for, so we had to find somewhere for her to go. We had to put her in a home, but she was just, she's kind of happy. So she doesn't, and to the point now she doesn't actually recognise me, but she's perfectly happy. So she's still alive. Fortunately, my father eventually passed away, which is what I think, I think I remember writing Our Predicament. And I wrote these lyrics. I said, we always knew we would find ourselves in this predicament. And I actually came up with those words when he was lying on his deathbed. He was dead. He'd just passed away. And I thought, you kind of don't go, oh my goodness, he's dead. Because I knew he was going to die. We were waiting for him to die for probably about 10 days when we knew it was the end. And I just sat there looking at him and thinking, well, Dad, we always knew we'd find ourselves in this predicament at some point. And so that's what the song was about.
always knew we'd find ourselves in this predicament. Oh, how you joked about it. That memory, the only living trace of what you meant to me. Here's to when it all hung in the balance. Here's to when it all hung in the air. For now I will lie with you. For now I will lie. For now I will lie with you. For now I will lie. Here's to when it all hung in the balance. Here's to when it all hung in the air. For now I will lie with you. For now I will lie. For now I will lie with you. For now I will lie. For now I will lie with you. For now I will lie. For now I will lie with you. For now I will lie.
We're the first generation that's going to be going through this,
Yeah.
because our grandparents dying in their mid-60s, whereas those living into their mid-80s, right, where their body is being kept alive but their brain has run out, we are absolutely the guinea pigs for this, and so therefore there is no art about it.
No, right. Yeah. And
There's not a tradition of songwriting about this.
no, maybe not. I guess there's a lot of debate about it now, but like you say, the brain isn't designed to go on for this long, and it does make you think. You know, I do not want my children to go through what I went through. What this brought home to me was that when it was all said and done, and you had time to really gather your thoughts after my father had passed away, kind of realised that actually what it made me do was reflect on my early life, and the times when he was alive, when he was my father, and
The ghosts in the park.
yeah, and not be dominated by the last 10 years, which I think if I went back and I say, look, Dad, this is what you're going to be like, he said, oh my God, you just finish me off before I get like that. He would have done. So yeah, and that's why some of the songs, I think, Meet Me on the Downs, I remember writing that because I drove to the retirement flat where they had been for the last 10 years, and I drove up in the car and I looked up and I thought, oh my God, they're not in there anymore. And you had this really strange silence in a car, because that's when you're in a car, it's like an anechoic chamber. It's so dead.
Yeah.
So you think, oh my God, my thoughts are really, really loud. I can't get away. And then you walk into and I put the key, and I was like, oh my God. And I had this kind of, I don't know what emotion, not dread, it was fear, all kinds of things. And I opened the door, and in there was like entropy, basically, because everything was scattered all across the floor, all the photo albums, all their clothes. It was a complete chaos in there. And I just looked at it, I thought, oh my goodness, and I looked at all the photographs and of when my father was like 10, 20 in the army, and me with him. And there was some specific photos of me walking with my father and my mum and a dog. When I lived in Salisbury for a bit, there's a place called the Downs. And so that's why it was called Meet Me on the Downs, because that was the memory that I wanted to have. That's my fun. That's the memory I'm keeping.
Approaching the house, the stillness in the car. The lock and the key opens into something. Another time, scattered amongst the clothes, scattered amongst the photographs. A lifetime, scattered amongst the clothes, scattered amongst the photographs. Everything returns to entropy. Everything returns to entropy. Memento mori. Memento mori. Memento mori. Closing the door. My cage, the wind towers and looking down. The noise, the warm little
When did you make that step from I could now do this for a living? How did you make that step? Because it must have been a gamble.
I was doing a production job for a band, and I was going to the studio, and I went to this car park, and I didn't realise that it was like £5 or to park, and I could not draw £5 out. All my credit cards, every single bank was full, and I never ever had that before, where I literally could not
Literally
get
didn't have any money, yeah.
a fiver.
Yeah.
I could not find a five, and I thought, oh my goodness. I mean, you can laugh about it now, but at the time it's terrifying, because you think, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And gradually things just.
Because you were a father by then as well.
Yeah,
of course.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's not just me that I'm.
Yeah.
If it was just me that was going to end up in the gutter, that's fine.
Would you have preferred to have been a footballer?
No, do you know what? Because I really loved playing football. I had to give up recently because I'm just.
Oh no!
It's just because I couldn't walk the next day. It was talking about our bodies in decline. The thing I love about watching football players is how they cope with spending all their lives, all you're thinking about is football, going out to this roar of however many thousands of people singing your name, say, and then all of a sudden it's lights out and silence, and what do you do?
It could happen during that match.
Right.
Your ACL goes.
Yeah.
That's you.
You're in the
treatment table for 18 months.
Yeah, you're crying on the stretcher because you know that that's it. Your career's probably over.
When you go out and play this live, again, you and I discussed this before, and it was really charming, which is why I remember these things. And of course, I have to edit it afterwards. It's you and it says, me and my best mate. Yeah. Me and my pal, jolly boy, me and my best mate. Remind us how you met Jon.
So I think I was 18 and I was at Leicester Uni.
Doing what?
I was doing geography.
Right, really?
Yeah, but it's human geography, so it was more like the politics of
like ye oldie sociology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not.
And climate change.
Very big overlap. And I was really keen. Those were the days where everything was so exciting, and I loved guitars, and I was and I saw this poster Guitarist Wanted. It was like the worst poster, literally someone with a felt tip. Guitarist Wanted for band. It was like funky rock band. It was like, I think everyone was listening to Faith No More and the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Living Colour, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I turned up for this advert, for this audition. And Jon was there, and it's hard to imagine, but he had long blonde hair all the way down, literally to his waist.
Please send me a photo.
Curly. I've got a photo somewhere. Yeah, I'll send you. So yes, and that was it. And then we just hit it off, and we worked so hard with that band. Terminal Headspin, it was called.
Terminal Headspin. Right.
Yeah, we were convinced we were going to change the world. We were going to make it, and that's all I thought about. And unfortunately, we didn't. We didn't actually.
Or fortunately.
Yeah, maybe fortunately, but it taught me an awful lot. All we did was we rehearsed in the arches, where a lot of things, the railway arches. There was a rehearsal room. We were in there all day for 7-8 hours, just playing and playing and playing and playing and playing.
Not studying.
No.
But by the same token, not taking drugs.
No. Well, no. We did drink a lot.
Right.
So no, I never did fall into the drug culture. I think the drug culture then was very much raves and pills.
Yeah. When you and I discussed your first solo record all those years ago, you said that you thought you and Kscope discussed you making a solo record, and you thought, I'm going to make a solo record, and what does a solo record sound like? Solo record doesn't sound like a prog rock band from Yeovil with loads of screaming guitar solos. It sounds like this. Yeah. And you presented it to, if memory serves me right, you presented it to Kscope, and they said, it's fine. You can make a record with drums on it. Yeah. Do what you normally do. This one feels as though you have made that record that you were planning to make to start with. This does sound like a solo record because it is skeletal and it's bare and it's emotional and it's naked.
Yeah, I think I did and that's something I always start. I start and say, no, this is going to be stripped back, me bearing everything. So let's keep it skeletal and focus really on the acoustic guitar, because I do love the acoustic guitar. And then I would end up just going down this path, and before I know it, I've gone somewhere different. Whereas this time, for some reason, I stuck to the plan.
Is it a certain amount of bravery, perhaps a certain amount of
yeah.
I mean, there's gaps in it. There's silences.
Well, this is a thing.
That's really brave.
I love using the silence because it's so dramatic. I think I remember some guy. He said, "Oh, I think in the artistic world, it's like negative space."
Yes, I like that.
Yes, and there's one bit where I was mixing it, is in Ghosts in the Park, and everything, it literally, this longest fade and it fades and it fades and it fades, and you're thinking, what's going on? And it keeps fading, and then it's gone, and you're like, you're really, and I'm thinking, can I get away with this? I says, yeah, I can, because this, and it's really, really dramatic, and I think that's something I've learned as I've got older, and I've spent so many years songwriting and trying to understand how it works.
But then there's if you buy the earbook, going straight to earbook.
Yes.
If you buy the Value of Money, you get a whole other album with loads of notes on it, thanks to Gleb Kolyadin. Yeah. Whose idea was that? How did that work?
Well, So Kscope, they always say, right, we're going to do the yearbook and we want to have like an exclusive CD and it's got to have something different on it. And oh God, what do I do? And like the really cheap thing to do is just mute the vocals and have an instrumental disc or something like that, and or an acoustic disc. And there is an acoustic disc on there as well. And I thought, because it's so stripped back, and I kind of composed the songs almost in a kind of classical way, just with bare bones acoustics
and European.
Yeah, and I thought, wouldn't this sound lovely if it was just piano and vocal? And I knew the guy. I knew there was a guy at Kscope who was like a world-class pianist.
Not many. Conservatoire.
And I said to John, you don't happen to know a piano player, do you? I said, Bruce, do you know what? I know Gleb. Shall I call him up? I said, yeah, Johnny. Yeah, if you can. Ting. So yeah, that was that. And so I sent the tracks to Gleb, and he just emailed back straight away and said, well, yes, I can definitely do something with this. And he would send. We didn't have much time, and I remember he would basically send. I'd wake up in the morning, and there would be a link to an MP3 of what he'd done about 3-4 in the morning. So he'd obviously been up all night, doing this. And when I first heard it, I couldn't believe it. I was actually got quite emotional, and I thought, Bruce, you're getting emotional listening to yourself.
At this juncture, dear listener, I think we should hear from Gleb Kolyadin and hear what he has to say about his contribution to Shipwrecks in the Harbour, the second CD in the yearbook. So I popped over to see Gleb. He's been living in the UK for a little while now, and the last time I spoke to him, which was about his solo album beginning of last year, he hadn't been to the chip shop yet. So obviously, before we got into the meat of how this CD was created, I had to ask him whether or not he'd been to the chip shop. Have you had a pickled gherkin?
Of course. I think this is the main part of every meal. I would say it should be everywhere.
Have you had a pickled egg?
Yes.
You have? What did you think of the pickled egg?
I like it. I very like it. Seriously.
Excellent,
yeah. I find it very, nice. I like it.
Umami, perhaps. Have you had mushy peas?
No.
No, we did mushy. That's the next thing to do. It's like the working class guacamole.
Okay.
It's marrowfat peas crushed and coloured green.
Wow, sounds cool.
It's great, but it's great. Some people like to sprinkle them over the top of the chips. Congratulations on making this CD with Bruce.
Thanks so much.
It blew my mind, and I think it blew his mind. What happened? Who got in touch with you and said we would like you to do this?
Well, we haven't met in person with Bruce, but we kind of we almost met. I remember. So because we played at the same festival in Barcelona, Be Broke My Friend. It was back in 2016.
Yeah,
and. Obviously, it's a small music world, so people more or less know each other, and especially because Pineapple Thief are on Kscope. I remember getting an email from Johnny at Kscope and asking about this project to make like piano versions of a new Bruce album. So I asked him to send me some music, and Bruce sent me everything. And I remember at first. I was a bit worried because of the deadline, because it had the whole album. It had to be done in 3 weeks for manufacturing.
Good.
Yeah.
Deadlines.
Yes,
deadlines are healthy.
Yeah. And I remember I had already had lots of plans, like a travel planned. So I just started with 2 songs, and then had to leave the town, and then I came back in 10 days and finished the rest in like 5 or 6 days. So yeah,
but my mind is even further blown.
So yeah, it was quite intense. Yeah, but I remember like I love to work at night. So I remember I just usually finish all these tunes, and it was like 5 or 6 a.m. So, but it was it's a great experience.
They're pocket nocturnes.
Yes, yeah.
Literally not, or pocket sonatas. That is amazing that you did that. Did that help, the fact that you were working to a deadline?
Well, I personally love having deadlines, because sometimes can be something that can force you, and you know, like you could, you know, when you have like endless amount of time, you can be a bit like lazy. But when you have like a specific like a time like frame, it can be very, very helpful. So
yeah. Well, I think it's like a frame of a picture or a canvas, is that you have to be created within that small space. So perhaps it motivates you to be more creative. Yeah,
and it's also kind of a challenge. So you feel like okay, this is something interesting. So I have to finish it. I have to finish it. And so it can be very inspiring even. So I had an option to like improvise, to just translate his music into like piano versions. I'm very happy that, you know, he gave me a lot of freedom. Most of the time, I would say, like artists, they are very specific about, you know, what they want from the music. I sent him like the first 2 tracks, and I took some liberty to change some parts, you know, to extend something, or maybe, you know, like make some episodes like shorter, because there are some moments. For example, you know, there are like lots of guitar solos, and they sound beautiful in original. But when you try to, if you try to play the same lines on the piano, it sometimes doesn't work. And so I had to rethink some of these like episodes, and I was a bit like nervous what he could say about that. But he was like, "Wow, yeah, please do this," and you know. I sent him maybe the 3rd or 4th track, and it was very early morning, and I listened to that track just as a listener, and at the same time I realized, wow, actually it feels like I'm sending to him my own music. I was very happy that I found the way how to transcribe his music into something that I personally really love to do. I think the final result is very cool, because it's not just like me trying to emulate something that he did, but it's also, you know, I put lots of like Gleb's, you know, vision into this, and also I think it's very interesting because the final result could be interesting not only for prog music lovers, but at the same time for people who are into some contemporary or modern classical, because I remember also, you know, at some point when I listened to the final tracks, and I realized, wow, it reminds me of some minimalist composers like Steve Reich, or even Simeon Van Holt. He has a very famous music piece, Canto Ostinato, which built with the same idea that there are lots of repetitive patterns, and they are just slowly evolving into something bigger. And this kind of approach I really love. And you know, Bruce music. You know, it is very interesting how Bruce music translates into this, you know, another music language with these like a piano versions. So I'm very, very happy about this album, and to be honest, it's a very important project for me as well.
How many days have you left me here? How many times did you say I couldn't recognize your face? You made a promise you would look after me. Is it now a lie? Is it now a lie?
made a promise to whom?
So this was actually again from my father, and when he, in his later days, I think what happens quite a lot with dementia is people lose control of their emotions, and he would always be crying, and he says, I don't know why I'm crying, and he would hit himself. He says, this isn't me, blah blah blah. And
what he used to do for a living.
exactly, and he would say, how's mum, you will look after her. I said, yeah, don't worry. I said, she'll always be fine. You got me and my sister. We always. And the worst thing was that we would take him to my mum, and she would sit down and then immediately get up and walk away because she didn't recognise him or not enough. And then he would get more upset and. So it was all quite intense. And then I would go and see my mum, and I would just realise that my mum is now in a home, and you can almost forget about her because she doesn't recognise me, and I think, well, what's the point in going to visit her? I remember saying to my sister, oh, what's the point? She doesn't recognise anyone. And I was in the middle of writing this song. I wasn't really getting anywhere lyrically, it was really, really embryonic, and I had a little nap where you're sat right now. Right. So I think as a songwriter, having a nap is really, really handy.
Okay,
really good.
Remember that, kids.
Napping.
Don't take drugs. Have a nice 40 weeks.
Yeah, and I messaged my sister, and I said, blah, blah, blah. And then I woke up, and my sister had sent me a message. Said, I went and see my mum. I went and saw mum. And she saw me and she said, oh, Rachel, it's so lovely to see you.
Weird.
And it was like, you hear this, that they have this moments of clarity. And it's normally, I think, supposedly at the very end when your brain sort of...
Like a tree.
Yeah, right.
Exactly like a tree where it starts to spring forth.
Blossom and
leaves when you think it's dead.
It's finally gone. Yes. Yeah. So this happened and I looked at this message and I went, oh... Shit. So actually, maybe it seems to me that there's nothing there and she doesn't recognise me, but she's in the same town. Why haven't you gone? And then I just tackled that whole thing. So I had my mother in when she had her brain saying to me, Adrian, obviously my real name is Adrian, you made a promise that you would look after me. So I wrote these lyrics, and now I'm talking to you about it, I'm like, oh my God, it's quite intense, quite extreme. Why did I write this? But it was like, Bruce, you bastard. You made a promise. You made a promise to your father on his deathbed that you would look after your mother, and you didn't. You made a promise. So I put that down.
Heavy, man.
Yes.
Also, of course, it's a reversal of roles, isn't it? Because you'll always be the child to a parent.
Yeah.
Right, but then you become the carer of the parent. So you were looked after as, when you were shitting your nappy.
Then it was literally the opposite. Yeah.
Bloody hell. Taking it out live. Going on the road with my best mate.
Yeah.
Right. Are you looking forward to that?
I am. I can't wait. How's it all happening? Well, we don't know yet. What
material are you going to do?
So we're going to certainly do some, I think from my perspective, my favourite songs from the record, the two singles, Ghost in the Park, I can see us ending the set with that one. And then obviously coming back with all the, I think the All This Will Be Yours, I think is one of my favourite records. So there'll be quite a few off that one, hopefully, and the last record. So yeah, I think something from all,
yeah, and my career. Yes.
And
who's going to be on stage?
So just me and Jon actually. So it's going to be a duo, but we're relying very heavily on looper pedals, and Jon's playing lots of percussion and things like that. So I'm hoping it's going to be quite a special evening. Because I've been to see some acoustic shows of artists, and the best ones are the ones that really did just keep it acoustic.
Yeah.
And without really having this temptation to, let's get a backing track, or let's get this guy with a laptop.
I did that. I split. I just played the ambience from the backing track and stood there and sang in front, and it just looks terrible.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to play the sit down.
Yeah, it made me realise that I'm not really interested in hearing everything that was on the album just played from. That's not why I'm here.
Literally can't see it. Unfortunately, it just doesn't look. Yeah.
So we're going to do that. I mean, but it's obviously not just going to be me and acoustic guitar and Jon and bass and vocals. There's going to be more to it, but it's everything is going to be created by us. So every night will be different.
And a chance for a chance for things to be different.
Yeah, and a chance for things to go completely wrong.
Well, I've discussed this with you before. The aforementioned Bezzy mate Johnny Widdett, when we were first going to gigs, he liked groups like that.
Yeah.
He wanted to go and see groups where at any point that they were right at the
on the edge,
highest level of their capabilities.
That is how I operate, and it drives John up the wall because he's completely the opposite. So even today he was saying, "So Bruce, the gigs are coming up," and I said, "Don't worry about it, John. I'm going to be absolutely fine." And you could see he was like, "Bruce,"
but he'll worry you if he does that. Have a word with him, because he'll get your
pressure on me. Yeah, he did. Yeah, we do need sorting out. It's a healthy relationship. We are completely different, very, very different in how we operate. It makes me laugh because when I see him getting frustrated, it always works out fine in the end. That's not to say that I haven't had quite a few moments live on stage where things have gone wrong. But like you said, it's on the edge. I find it really exciting, and it's how you deal with it. When things go wrong, the way that you interact with the crowd and the audience, it's obviously you can't go wrong all the time. Yeah. There's a fine line with being an absolute calamity and actually just being real and natural.
But you're all putting loads of pressure on yourself by playing extraordinarily complicated music. It's like a car with a computer and all. There's so many things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas I guess if you're a duo using looper pedals, it's more obvious when it has gone wrong. Fewer things to go wrong, but
if it does go wrong, there's nowhere to hide.
You look like a pair of dicks.
Yes.
Where will these concerts be? Where do you do your best business as a solo artist?
I think the Netherlands is always very good. Netherlands. So we're doing a show in Oberhausen, funnily enough, where Ghosts in the Park was conceived. The UK is also very good. I'm doing some shows with Tim Bowness, and 2 of those are sold out already.
I did know that. Yeah, of course.
And Paris is lovely.
All right, okay.
There's a really, I couldn't believe the last solo tour we did. The crowd in Paris was wonderful, and so I'm looking forward to going back there. And we got a little festival in Tampere.
In
Finland.
The groovy city in Finland.
Yes. Right.
The San Francisco, the Brighton.
Is that how they regard it?
Yeah, it was the university town.
Is it?
Tampere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. So I think we're in a position now where the Pineapple Thief is this kind of, we've got these big tours coming and it's a very, very big operation. Whereas the Bruce Soord solo is me and John picking up our guitars, hopping on a plane or doing whatever and doing shows. And that's what we're looking forward to.
Just finally though, what pushes you to do that? If the Pineapple Thief is, the Pineapple Thief has grown, your career has grown so beautifully at such a great pace. Every time I see you, things are bigger, the band are bigger, the solo things are bigger, the record sales are bigger, the tours are bigger, the festivals are bigger. So why is it necessary to fit in the time that you have off by doing a solo album? Do they what would you consider to be a success with this solo record in terms of sales, in terms of touring?
Yeah, I don't think we have any expectations now with people coming out to the shows. Obviously, you don't want to be playing in a room playing to the barman.
Done that.
And I have done that in the early days. Yeah, to the
sound
man and the barman. Shall we carry on or should we just pack up? So hopefully that won't happen, but I think the idea of me playing these songs with John by my side, and as long as there's at least someone in the audience, that's enough. I know that just sounds very, but it's true. Yeah. It's true, and we have such a good time. Even when it's tough and you're driving all day and you go to a hotel and you have to get up at 7 a.m. to get to the next venue or whatever, it's still great fun.
Fewer people hanging around as well, I'm guessing as well, if there's a crew involved with Pineapple Thief and people running around and
so there's
whereas of course there's none of that.
None of that. In fact, we've got our old merch guy, Marky Merch, who basically just used to do it in the early days as Pineapple Thief, did it for love. Sweet. So he's just coming out doing it for the love of it because he says, yeah, we're doing it again, let's get in there. So and Steve, the keyboard player, is also obviously a really good mate. He's driving, so he's driving. Yeah, we keep him,
sort of pedals.
We keep him out of sight. But, so
just in case people go,
because it is pretty much 3/4 of the Pineapple Thief then. But so
will this be recorded?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah,
So-
being in charge of yourself must be weird, though.
Yeah, and it's
How are
very
you as a boss?
self-indulgent, isn't it? It's like
No, it's not.
only myself
Yeah.
to talk to.
Only yourself to blame.
Yeah.
How do you
so-
bounce? Who are you bouncing it off when you're?
Yeah.
Is there a second Bruce Soord in the room? Maybe
Well,
even a third.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, well, there
Especially
has
if
to
playing all the
be.
instruments.
You are talking to yourself all the time.
You've done a terrible take on that synth.
Well, and I will talk out loud all the time. If you would hear me in the studio, I probably sound like a madman. I'd be talking to myself all the time.
That's what I want to hear on the third disc.
Yeah.
Next one, though.
Yeah, the
'cause there-
bonus
There
disc.
is such a thing. Yeah, studio chatter.
Yeah, studio chatter, just me talking to my alter ego.
Yeah, alter egos.
Yes.
Yeah, who's the John, Paul, the George, and the Ringo? Who is the Tigger? Who is the Pooh?
Yeah.
And who is the Eeyore?
Exactly.
In that
They're all in there.
relationship?
They're all in there.
Yeah, wow. Wow.
My huge thanks to both Bruce Soord and Gleb Kolyadin for their time. You heard You Made a Promise, the Gleb Kolyadin version from the Shipwrecks in the Harbour earbook CD. Before that, Meet Me on the Downs. Before that, Our Predicament. There are Bruce Soord and Jon Sykes shows to go to, both in the UK and Europe, and listening events and in stores as well. All details, kscopemusic.com. And we're going to finish, if I may, where the LP starts, with a track entitled Concepcion. See you soon. Ta-da.
Mother, it's me, do you remember? Pushing out to sea with me. Mother, it's me, do you remember? This hand in yours, it's yours. Shipwrecks in the harbor, surrender to the sea. Live the longest way goodbye. Mother, it's me, do you remember? Mother, it's me, do you remember? Mother, it's me.